Before we go over that, let's just bring Spencer in a little earlier. Pleasure to welcome a member of our Game Day roster. DJ is going to put his picture up in a second. Host BYU Sports Nation, play-by-play announcer for BYUtv, the man who will be calling Thursday's BYU-Cincinnati soccer game on ESPN-Plus. Say hello to our longtime friend and colleague, Spencer Linton. The Big 12 this week, Kansas State and Oklahoma State have byes. So Friday night, Cincinnati, BYU. Saturday, Kansas is at Texas. Texas is up to number 3. Houston's at Texas Tech. Baylor's at UCF. Iowa State's at Oklahoma. They're number 14. West Virginia's at TCU on Saturday night. The Bearcats come in 2-2. They beat Eastern Kentucky and Pitt. They lost to Miami, Ohio, and Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat them 20-6 back on Saturday. So we'll talk about that a bit later with Jim Kelly when he joins us. Weather forecast can be awesome. Friday night, a high of 76 in the day, low of 51, so we're in the 60s for kickoff. And here's what the Cougars are going to look like. The DJ is going to put up the All Royals as our live streamers are welcoming Spencer. That's a good look under the lights on national TV. Royal from head to toe. The last time they wore these was 2021 against Arizona. They won in those, so they're hoping to win in these. So it's a royal look. Will you be wearing your royal shirts? That's what we're wearing on game day.
Yes.
Will you be complimenting that with the white pants?
Probably.
You have some royal pants, too.
I do have royal pants, but it's so hard to match the specific color of the
royal
royal polo
royal.
with the royal golf pants.
So you probably go white pants?
Yes. Also, White Pants Friday is a thing for me.
Is that
So it's
We're way past Labor Day.
Will
I
you
know
go
that.
royal shoes?
absolutely I will go royal shoes.
Okay, because I think I may go royal
Okay.
with gray slacks, but then I'm going to go with royal sneaks with gray soles.
Ooh, I
That's a
like
lot.
that.
That's-
And I think I'll go royal socks.
By the
like
way,
that.
Les from Santa Fe says you meant to say Orchid Lane. That's what you meant to say, Orchid Lane.
Yes.
Orchid Lane?
Where you cut the
Orchid
nail in
Lane
your tire.
in Lehigh.
DJ, will you put up our game day promo? We encourage you to be with us. We got a special game day Friday night, BYUtv, ESPN-Plus, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain Time, 2 hours of pregame news, features, live warm-up
Dave
shots.
always claims he's the only one actually working
which is so...
because he's cooking for the rest of us.
which actually is everything you need to know about how this operation goes.
Hey, somebody's got to tame the cougar.
Someone's got to...
That in and of its own right is a job.
fact that
That
we could get
cougar's
that
had a
coug-
shot. That thing's going nowhere. It's as docile
the way
as can
that
be.
it just stayed calm with Spencer was pretty amazing.
It's the
And
first
I
Big
still
12
don't know what I'm holding on to. I think that's a cornhole game thing.
I don't know.
And I don't know what I'm pointing at.
You're just pointing.
I think I'm trying to show off my left
That's a
tricep.
historic night. It's the first Big 12 game at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. The football game starts at 10:15 Eastern. That's 10:15 Ohio time, Cincinnati time. 8:15 Mountain. The live post-game show back on BYU-TV as soon as it's over. Friday night kicks off conference weekend. It's just a special time of year. You were in Kansas doing our coverage from Lawrence. What was it like?
A great college
And you had
town.
2 flyovers.
Yes.
They went over and then they came back.
I've never seen that before. I've never experienced that in any major sporting event where you have 2 F-35s, and that in and of itself is pretty cool. And they flew by like 20 minutes earlier, just at a higher altitude.
Just scouting it out?
Sure. And then they came by for the actual flyover at the end of the national anthem, and then like circled around. And I'm still doing my live hit with you, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to fly by again. And it was even lower and closer to the stadium.
It was a trifecta.
Look, when you don't have mountains, you can just do U-turns with
Yeah.
jets, fly right back over.
There's
BYU
no risk
grad
of
led
hitting
the
Mount
way.
Timpanogos like they do when they come here.
Did it feel like big-time football?
It did.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not Texas, it's not Oklahoma, it's Kansas, but still.
It did because for the first time you saw the Big 12 logo on the BYU uniform and on the opponent's uniform.
Yeah.
It was kind of a surreal experience to just think, wow, what a journey for this program, for this university, for BYU football, its fans, its alumni, it's all the coaches and the legends involved. Everything that went into getting to that moment. Jets were flying over, and I thought, holy cow, BYU's going to play a Big 12 conference game. They're in a conference. They're in a Power 5 conference. And so that felt big time. Once the game started, I mean, you settle in, and it's time to go to war on the football field, and BYU's trying to win a game. And it hurts to lose the first game in the conference opener on the road. But yeah, in that moment, that surreal experience to just see the BYU fans and the Kansas fans converge and the sound of freedom flying over. And
it's awesome.
You're in a Power 5 conference officially when that ball is kicked off.
Jets elevate things.
They change it. They give me goosebumps every time I watch them.
All of a sudden, it's a big event.
And we're always looking for it.
Super
now,
cool.
The week before, you were down in Arkansas. And certainly you're in the SEC on the road. That's a big-time environment.
And
BYU,
they had Jets too, right?
And they had to fly over, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like big-time environment after big-time environment. Here's what's crazy. It still feels to me like it's really early in the season and we don't know who this team is, but they're a third of the way through the season.
34 games in.
Yeah, they're 4 games in. So and you've been with them on the road for 2. We watched them at home. What do you make of this team a third of the way into the season as they really now get into Big 12 play in earnest?
Well, there are a few things that I feel like we can be confident in with this team. One, their ability to overcome adversity. And that's for better and worse, right? You would hate to or would like to not be in those early adversity situations in games at Arkansas and Kansas, but to BYU's credit, they just kind of battle. And they've won ugly outside of the Kansas game, the first loss of the season, but this team can overcome adversity. Bad things can happen early in the game, and they'll battle back. You can only handle so many shots and blows before you
Are you
eventually
saying
succumb.
you can't give up 14 points directly to the other team's defense and then have a third one that results in a touchdown and win on the road?
Yeah, Blaine, those are those devastating turnovers we talk about,
Yeah,
right? Turnovers stink regardless, but the devastating turnovers.
Who was it? Was it Dave Rose? Or it might even be, I can't remember if it was Mark Pope, Dave Rose. Maybe it's Steve Fisher in basketball that calls the turnover where you turn it over out in your backcourt and the other team just runs down and dunks it. It's like that's a terminal turnover. Like it ends badly, right?
They didn't have to work to get points.
It's like it's just too easy. There's a difference between that and we'll just liken it to basketball, where you come down and you throw the ball out on your baseline and they have to take the ball out and you have to defend the full length of the court. Like it's a full defensive set again for you. Not nearly as devastating. Likewise in football, a terminal turnover is a scoop and score.
Yes.
Or a pick six.
Yep. BYU had both of those.
And I would submit that that's way more devastating than a terminal turnover in basketball. It doesn't hurt you as much to be driving down and to turn the ball over on their 30.
No. Not
your
all turnovers are created equally.
To recover, and it's just not the same. 2 what I would call terminal turnovers in football in one game, and then a third that results in points. I don't know the numbers because we haven't been able to I would bet that 99% of the time you lose a game like that, no matter who you're playing.
And blame BYU still in the game.
That's what's crazy to me.
They're still in the game. So, and I said this earlier this week on BYU Sports Nation, and the coaches have confirmed. I hosted Coordinator's Corner, had Aaron Roderick and Jay Hill with me. They both were very, very outspoken about how difficult it is to overcome a loss like this emotionally, because they admitted, look, Kansas is a good team, made some good plays, even on those turnovers. They still made good plays. But they feel, and by they, I mean the BYU coaching staff and players, they feel like BYU beat BYU. Mm-hmm. That's tough to overcome. Yeah. Like you feel every loss stinks, but there's an extra sting to that. And so that's the challenge for them this week, is to bounce back after one of the more frustrating losses in recent memory. The fortunate part is they get to do it under the lights of LaVell Edwards Stadium, and under the lights since 2019 in games that kick off after 6 p.m. For whatever reason, this isn't just home either. This is home and road. BYU is almost unbeatable. 15-1, by the way, in their last 16 night games, meaning kickoff after 6 p.m. 25-3 since 2019 when the game kicks off after 6 p.m.
And there's something about a late night, especially a Friday night, in that stadium with The Rock. The Rock just goes extra special nuts on a night game.
Yeah, it's going to be something else.
I go back to that Arizona State game, the one where Tyler punched the ball out.
Oh, 2021, yeah.
Where at the end of the game, it was so loud that Arizona State was it 3 straight false starts?
Yes.
They couldn't hear themselves think. They were trying to go silent count, and it didn't work because in their heads it wasn't silent. The Rock was that devastating. I was standing next to Nixon down on the sideline, and he said something to me. he put his face this close to me and yelled at me, and I went, I can't hear you. Can't hear you. And that's what the atmosphere can be like on a Friday night in Lavelle Edwards Stadium. That's what Cincinnati's going to come up against on Friday night, and against a team that knows that they blew it on the road, that's going to play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder to prove that that was an aberration. Yeah. We were talking earlier, and you were with us earlier today too, but they win this game Friday night, and they come out of this first 4-1. We all said
there were some people that thought BYU would only win 4 games total. Also,
right?
Like
But
Vegas.
we were all saying, hey, 4-1's not out of the question. But didn't we all think, yeah, they probably lose at Arkansas on the road, but maybe they get that one at Kansas. But we still thought 4-1 was a legitimate possibility, and that we'd all be really happy with 4-1.
Yeah, but the realistic take was probably 3-2. Probably 3-2 after 5. We were all hoping for 4-1. 5-0 was like beyond our wildest dreams. But yeah, like people called 4-1 blue-goggled. Like, no. This is next level football. You got to go to Arkansas, to Kansas, then you come home and host Cincinnati. Like, you should be happy with 3-2. You beat Cincinnati, you're 4-1. Like, you're ahead of plan. You're ahead of schedule.
BYUtv Spencer Linton is on the Wise Guys tonight, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and ysguys.com. And the whole world is on our live stream tonight. We're sure glad to have everybody with us. The Big 12 is a lot more wide open than when we were in Dallas at the Big 12 meetings watching BYU pick to finish 11th. Once you get past Texas, maybe Oklahoma, and possibly part of Kansas State, everything is wide open. I think BYU's number 5 in the power ratings this week. How high can BYU go?
Yes, it's a good point you bring up. It feels like spots 4 to 12 are kind of just up for grabs. Yeah. You don't want to pin any team specifically this early in the season as the worst, but it kind of feels like Iowa State and Oklahoma State are in those
maybe
spots.
Maybe Baylor.
And Baylor's moving that direction in a hurry, right? So they're kind of at the bottom of the Big 12 4 weeks in. You can always bounce back and figure some things out, but for BYU, opportunity knocks in a major way because some of these other teams look a little more beatable than we thought they were going to be. Texas Tech, notably. BYU feels like they can go on the road and beat a West Virginia team in early November. They feel like they can get the home game against Iowa State, at Oklahoma State to close the regular season. And then out of the Big 3, meaning at TCU, at Texas, and then home to Oklahoma, can BYU win at least one of those? And so if BYU takes care of business, at worst they should win 7 games in the regular season.
Right.
Like Texas Tech's out their starting quarterback.
Right.
Tyler Shuck, good kid. Loved interviewing him at Big 12 Conference Media Days. He's had his 3rd season-ending injury.
I hate it.
This is like a Taysom Hill scenario for Tyler. It's awful.
But if you do the math and you go, it's like election night. Okay, how do you do Cincinnati, Iowa State, and Texas Tech, 3 home games.
That's 6.
That gets you to 6. Now you're playing with house money. You get one of those you mentioned, and then take one of those 3 in the Big 3.
Yeah.
And you're looking at an 8-win season. And that puts you in the Pop-Tarts Bowl for like $8 million.
Okay.
Wait, was
and
the
now you're
Pop-Tarts
finishing
Bowl,
in the top 5.
Was the Pop-Tarts Bowl the Cheez-It Bowl before?
Yeah.
Dang it.
I know.
I wanted to go to the Cheez-It Bowl.
I mean, you ask, like, how high can BYU go here? I mean, if we're being realistically fair here, like, let's say realistic best-case scenario, BYU wins 8 regular season games. Yeah, they're going to finish top 5 in the Big 12 in year 1, which would be phenomenal.
Yeah, unbelievable. And it's not crazy to think that. Now, remember, before they played a game, we had talked a lot, and we went out, we put it out there. The Vegas' over-under was what, 4? Or 3?
They said it, so it opened up, I believe, at 5, then it kind of sunk to 4.5, and some people were saying, yeah, maybe BYU only wins 4 games. I mean, ESPN's Football Power Index, now this is a computer metric.
They have an underdog. They had them before last week's game. The only game they were favored in the entire season was Iowa State. Other than the two.
Right. They were favored in 3 games and the underdog in 9 games. That's shifted a little bit now, as it should have. Yeah. Again, that's a computer metric, so you can't really be mad.
They're favored in Friday's game now.
Yes. Vegas has BYU, I believe, last I saw, is a 2.5-point favorite. Mm-hmm. And this, man, what an interesting matchup, because Cincinnati's offense has been okay against much lesser competition, but only scored 6 against Oklahoma. We're frustrated in a game at home against Miami of Ohio. They've lost 2 straight. Now they got to travel to Provo on a short week, but they have an outstanding defensive front led by Dante Corleone,
Yes.
who is just a beast. And this is not the week for BYU's run game to get better. Like this,
Yeah, we were talking about that.
We're all like, we got the run game.
Hey,
It's another
Briggs
chance to
is
get
a
better.
beast on the D-line,
The
too.
bye week might be the week to get the run game better.
Yes, that's more realistic. Like this week, do not expect BYU's run game to all of a sudden just show up and the Cougars run for 150. This is not the game for that. I think Aaron Roderick is probably scheming and game planning to throw the ball at least 40 times this week.
Yeah, Cincinnati's D coordinator, first of all, he's very good. And that's where we talked about them only having 7 returning starters. 5 of those are on defense. They're 5 studs.
Yeah.
On defense. Taj Ward, a DB who's been, he's a 5th-year senior at Cincinnati. He's played a ton of games. Brian Threets at safety, also his 3rd year there. Jack Dingle, a linebacker, is a really fine player. He's been there 3 years. And then we talk about Corleone and Briggs on that defensive line, who are both monsters there. They have a really good core defensively, so I expect them to be good on defense all year. But the offense, they've got some talent there, but it's a bunch of transfers. It's a little bit similar to BYU's. Yeah. Emory Jones, this quarterback, is he's a dual threat guy, but they run more like this RPO scheme a high percentage of the time. They're not like Kansas that runs 7 different types of schemes that you've got to defend. And they started off tough. Just keep this in mind, folks. So Emory Jones throws 5 touchdowns in their opener against Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
And no interceptions. You're like, whoa. Okay, that's quite a start. Now, Emory, he started at Florida and then eventually transferred to Arizona State, and now he's at Cincinnati, right? So this is his 3rd school. A little bit like Keaton, but dual threat guy. And game 2, he was also solid through 2 touchdowns. So now he's up to 7 touchdowns, right? In the last 2 games, Miami of Ohio and Oklahoma, 0 touchdown throws, 4 interceptions. And honestly, he had 1 interception in game 2. So he's got 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, but the trend the last 2 has been rough on Emory Jones. Now, they've run the ball really well in every game, but the throw game is kind of tapered off a little bit.
It's interesting to watch a guy who was, to your point, Blaine, he's at Florida. I mean, he's played in big-time environments, big-time games, and Cincinnati has one of Florida's former receivers who caught, I think, around, upwards of 30 passes as a member of the Florida Gators. So they've got some guys. It's just tough when you have a first-year head coach, new scheme, new ideas, bunch of new players coming together. They're trying to gel. I think Cincinnati's getting better. I think it's fortunate that BYU gets Cincinnati when they get Cincinnati, because I feel like the Bearcats are going to be a much better team when they're 10 or 12 games into this season. And so, for them to have to travel after only putting up 6 against Oklahoma, coming to Provo on a Friday night, like this is all advantageous for BYU. Yeah. And typically home field will give you a 3-point advantage when you look at Vegas, and it's right there. So they feel like if they played this game on a neutral field, like the experts and our friends in the desert think this is like a very, very even match.
Yeah, they average the same. They're giving up the same.
Interestingly, in the olden days when I played, when we used to wear leather helmets, we fold them up, put them in our pocket.
With Boney Fuller.
After practice with Boney Fuller.
Yeah.
I always felt like, hey, if we're going to play a short week, let's play it at home. We have a huge advantage. Let's play a Friday night game at home. Because I think a short week is a huge disadvantage for the team on the road. And so Cincinnati, not only did they have to play Oklahoma, now they've got to travel out here. You lose a day traveling. And so BYU's home, sleeping in their own beds. And they've got a short week too. I think advantage short week is always to the home team. And then to come play in this environment is a tough ask for Cincinnati. I would value it at more than 3. I would value it at a full touchdown.
Okay, wow. Okay, so you put it that high.
Yeah. Hey, Forrest Gump, 12 Able with us from the, the East Houston area. And glad to have you with us on the Wise Guys. Spencer Linton is a host of BYU Sports Nation, play-by-play announcer, game day reporter, and he's on the show tonight. Thursday night, speaking of the other, let's turn to the other football.
Let's do it.
Thursday night, the 6th-ranked BYU women's soccer team hosts Cincinnati. It's Cincinnati week in town. You'll be on the call on ESPN-Plus. South Field will be sold out and rocking, especially after beating 14th-ranked Texas last night, 3-2. So which team has surprised you the most at this point? Soccer team, women's volleyball team, which is number 9 in the country, or the football team, which is sitting 3-1?
I mean, straight up, BYU football had a chance to go 4-0 last week. That to me was the biggest surprise. I mean, beating Arkansas on the road, and then having that kind of, juju, if you will, and not being like, it's not like they were great. Like, there were flaws, especially on offense, but they just found a way to win. So that was the win at Arkansas is the punctuation on the most surprising team. But soccer, incredible. We knew they were going to be amazing.
Now, you've been calling games at Southfield for like a decade
We
now.
knew they were going to be amazing. Yeah. Volleyball probably takes the cake. I thought volleyball would be pretty good.
Really?
They're now the highest-ranked team in the Big 12. They're ranked one spot higher than Texas.
Today we talked about today's coaches poll comes out. They're number 6, right?
9. They're 9.
Oh,
Soccer's
9.
up
So
6.
soccer, sorry about
So
that.
volleyball's number 9. Texas
9,
is number
that's right.
10.
And where are they going this week?
They're going to Austin for 2 games. This is a new dynamic to the women's volleyball schedule. Is in some of these road trips, they'll play 2 matches, but on back-to-back nights. We see this with the men's volleyball team.
Right.
Yeah.
Never seen this happen with BYU women's volleyball. This is a new thing. And wouldn't you know that both of these matches are in Austin with BYU as the highest-ranked Big 12 team. That, to me, is surprising. They beat Pittsburgh, who was a top 5 team, to open up the season. Their only setback, it was at Washington State, who was a top 10 team in and of their own right.
On the road.
On the road. And now they got to go to Texas. I think they're game for a split. You split that,
if they get
you're
a
good.
split, their
Amazing.
RPI is going to be super high all
Yeah,
year.
they got a chance to win the Big 12. And that's a surprise for me.
We went and watched them against Houston the other night. Brendan and I went and watched.
So good.
Oh, my goodness. This is a really athletic team. Their ability to block, like Houston couldn't get it over the block. It was roof city.
Yeah.
It was the red roof in. It was the blue roof in. It was the blue roof in. And then their hitting percentage was just, it was phenomenal. I'm watching it going, whoa. I mean, this is a top 10 team. Really, really good. Am I crazy? Like, I'm watching this BYU soccer team, and I know they had that little lapse, right?
They're special.
But the way they share the ball and the way they play so connected with their passing game seems unique to me in college soccer. And we've watched them pretty closely. My daughter-in-law and Gavin and Abby live with us right now in our basement apartment. And we've watched a couple of games. Abby was a first-team All-State soccer player and the player of the year in the conference her freshman year at Westminster. And she watches it and just says, no, these guys are so connected, and their passing game is remarkable in college soccer. Am I crazy to think this is a Final Four team?
No. In fact, the goal now for BYU, after the setback you brought up, their one and only loss, for whatever reason, Utah State has had BYU's number a few times in the past few years. I don't know what it is. Weird deal. They go up to Logan. They lose that game, but you bounce back by obliterating Baylor. It's not great, but still, you dominate them, and then you win at number 14 Texas last night. Okay, so the wake-up call, sometimes it hurts when you receive it. If you remember, BYU lost a bad game to Utah Valley a couple years ago.
Have you ever been in a hotel and enjoyed a wake-up call?
Oh, man.
No, we don't like them at all. But you got to get up.
You like to sleep until you just naturally wake up.
But there was this awakening. Like, they lost that game to Utah Valley 4-2 on their home field. They went to the national championship that year, and they pointed to that little juncture as, man, that was the rallying point. That was as low as it got, and we were like, okay, no, this is not going to happen. That team rallied, went to the national championship. This BYU team drops to number 6. I think because they beat Texas on the road. I think they're going to handle their business against Cincinnati tomorrow night. I believe that they'll jump back up into the top 5. The goal is to finish as one of the top 4 teams according to the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee.
Right.
Doesn't matter about the rankings. The United Soccer Coaches Poll, it's great and it's fun and all. If the selection committee will look at their resume, and BYU's resume is very strong right now, very strong. You beat UCLA already. You beat Texas. You beat St. Louis. Like, they have some quality on there. If you can be a 1 seed Now all you have to do is win on your home field, and you're in the College Cup.
In the College Cup,
You
yep.
can play your way on your
that's the
home
goal.
field into the Final Four.
And
this team
Southfield is a remarkable home field advantage.
Yes, this team is absolutely capable of getting to their second ever College Cup. In fact, I think
so
with
fun.
how good they've been, for being frank, it would be disappointing, Blaine, that they didn't at least get to the Elite Eight. And it would be disappointing if they didn't get to the College Cup. We've seen how good they can be.
The thing that told me that their expectations are high for themselves was the body language of Jen Rockwood and her team when they had the draw
Yes.
with TCU.
It was like a loss.
It was like they were devastated and disappointed that they had a draw with TCU.
Yeah, there were
and I'm just
nine
like,
wins, one loss, one draw, and the one draw, you're right. It felt like a loss to them.
I love that mentality, right? Love that mentality that they're not satisfied with that. They hold themselves to a much higher standard.
Yeah, they should dominate Cincinnati tomorrow night under the Thursday
Tomorrow night
night.
or Thursday night?
Sorry, Thursday night.
Right,
I'm getting
okay.
ahead of myself.
We can't keep track of what day it is.
It's true.
We just know it's Tuesday.
Thursday night at Southfield. Had a great conversation with Cincinnati's coach. They're a program that's still young. She came over from UAB, did a great job rebuilding that program, but now she's trying to rebuild Cincinnati, who is pretty young for the most part. If BYU doesn't win this game by at least 3 goals, I'll be shocked. Now, the one thing that Cincinnati does have going for them is their head coach is friends with Utah State's head coach.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so they're going to
she's gonna
exchange
tell her-
some ideas.
I think there's. It's not even about scheme. It's some voodoo magic for Utah State.
And her former assistants are both at Texas. So she's got friends that are assistants at Texas right now that just saw BYU.
Hey, there aren't
so
any secrets anymore.
She's going to be doing a lot of conversing
Yeah.
with some
Yeah.
teams that beat and just played against BYU. And
Players win.
it's
right?
true. Players
win.
play, and players win and lose.
Couple more questions with Spencer Linton tonight on the Wise Guys. The Big 12 conference basketball schedule was released today. You had it on BYU Sports Nation. Fun begins January 6th, the Mary Center against Cincinnati. Well, it's a Cincinnati thing.
Cincinnati week.
And then we wrap up March 9th at home against Oklahoma State, a date with Kansas on the road February 27th. There's like 13 ESPN-Plus games on the schedule, which means the 3 of us will be working
That's right.
13 games together.
I like that.
We would love to do as many as possible, as many as they'll let us do.
We're a little selfish because I think
Yeah.
fans would rather have them be on the mothership, but we'll take it.
We'll take it. What game are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I tell you what, we don't typically travel to road games. I will be at Fog Allen Fieldhouse on
There you
February
go.
27th.
There you go.
I'll pay my own way. I'll get my
Listen,
credential.
You can find a way to
Yes.
have the company pay for
I'll
that.
get my credential, but if I got to pay for my own flight and hotel and rental, I will be there on February 27th. I don't care what happens in the game. I just want to experience
That's so
that
fun.
with BYU basketball.
No one's more disappointed than Sherry Dew that Kansas is not coming to the
Yes.
Mary Center.
Yeah, Sherry
grew
Dew
up in
grew up in
Kansas.
Kansas. She was an all-state basketball player there. She loves Kansas basketball, and she was.
And she loves BYU.
And she loves
and
BYU,
she wanted to see
so
them
she
together.
just wanted to see that. But
Well, it's going to be exciting. We're going to have a fun season together. And
Hey, don't do
we've had
Spencer's 5 questions.
A lot of years before.
this stupid tickle in my throat is driving me nuts, and we're live, and I've got to go cough hard.
All
Okay,
right, we'll go
okay.
cough hard, but
This is
just
Blaine,
keep your
Blaine,
lungs.
me that. He's got,
It's a live stream. This kind of stuff happens.
we got to act like this is real life.
Yeah,
because it is real life.
Well, thankfully he's not doing it in front of the microphone. But Blaine will be back with us shortly. You grew up a BYU fan. Your family are BYU fans. Your dad, when he was alive, was a BYU fan. How much does this job mean, not to you, but to your family? Because, and I'll say from a personal thing, I have a cool job, but it's cool because my family celebrates
Yeah.
it and they think it's cool. What does it mean to your group?
Very similar circumstances for me. The rare day that goes by that somebody from my family isn't texting me or calling me and telling me how much they enjoyed the episode of BYU Sports Nation or a certain interview we
Right.
did on the show, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe, that win against Arkansas. I watched the whole post game. I loved your interviews with Chase Roberts. I thought that was so fun. Like, they're always there conversing with me about the things that I do. And so, yeah, there is that special connection with family because I know that they're my biggest fans and somebody. It's just the power of coming from, a family that has 7 children. I've got a lot of siblings, and one of them, if not multiple of them, are always watching whatever show I'm on.
Right.
And that it's just great to have that support for sure.
Because you got to be away from them a lot, especially Brittany and the kids.
Oh, yeah. And
because it requires us to be somewhere else. So to have that support of just their general interest in they won, we're in, it's a fun thing. I think is so it helps fill the void of being gone.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was sitting in my hotel room after the loss at Kansas. I was watching that Ohio State Notre Dame game, that wild finish. And I got a text message from my wife, and she's like, "Are you watching this Ohio State Notre Dame game?" And I was like,
"That's true love.
I've never loved you more."
I told these guys, I think I told our group the day I fell in love with Brenda. Like, I liked her a lot. But back in the day before cell phones, I just stopped at her dorm room at BYU, and her roommate was down in the lobby. And I go, "Where's Brenda?" She goes, I don't, have you checked downstairs? She might be doing laundry. So I went downstairs. She was doing laundry. She was sitting all by herself in the lounge downstairs watching Monday Night Football. I walked down and I was like, "You watching this by yourself?" She goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, I am so in love right now.
I'm ready to commit.
Listen,
I'm so in love."
The other night we're watching the USC game, and Diane goes, "So what's the difference between a tailback and a fullback?" And I'm just like, I never thought I'd get this question my entire life from you. This is fantastic.
Yes,
so I tried to explain it, and then it was like, let's just watch the game. But yes, USC has tailbacks. Some other schools don't have tailbacks. But anyway, I said just the fact that you asked that question is a win.
We've connected on a new level in our relationship.
And then, of course, it was, are we watching the whole game? There was always a follow-up. But let's get 5 questions. Charlie Peterson's going to join us here in a couple minutes. We'll get his take on Keaton Slovis from one quarterback to another.
I did not want to miss 5 questions, so I just coughed it out.
We're just glad you survived.
I just coughed it out.
I appreciate that sacrifice.
And I'm so much better now because I have to be here for 5 questions.
These 5 questions are going to be the revealer of all things.
Okay.
Yes.
No pressure.
No.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to really think about it. You just, like, if it pops in your head, you just say it.
Rapid fire.
So here we go.
Okay.
Your favorite sports movie?
Hoosiers.
Wise choice.
Ooh.
Wise choice.
100%.
You, me, and Marie.
Marie Osmond.
Man, Hoosiers for the win. Jimmy Chitwood was an icon for me in my childhood. I wanted to be Jimmy Chitwood.
What was Devin Durant?
Probably Hoosiers.
I think he was Hoosiers too.
Yeah.
I used to shoot folded pairs of socks into the laundry basket with Jimmy Chitwood as I watched that movie.
You have to.
As like a 6-year-old kid.
My uncles played Indiana basketball in high school,
When
so
he
it just
looks
brought
at
us
him,
in.
what does Jimmy, like, he's dropped a play for Jimmy to be the decoy, right?
Yeah.
Then he looks at Jimmy, what does Jimmy say?
I'll make it.
I'll make it.
And then,
All right,
then Gene Hackman got wise, and he's like, "Okay, never mind all that."
Yep.
We're not running the picket fence.
Get it to Jimmy.
Clear it out, spread the floor, give it to Jimmy.
And that's one of the movies that when it comes on, no matter where it is in the movie, and it's on BYUtv a lot,
always watch.
you just stop and go, "I'm in."
And the story of redemption with Dennis Hopper's character.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? When the son hugs his dad and tells him he does a good job, and then he's celebrating on his bed in rehab, and like, what a story of Hoosiers.
I hosted a dinner, the 20th anniversary of Hoosiers, with Dennis Hopper in Vegas and the producer of the film, and then we did a Q&A with the audience, and they were so proud of that movie, and they did it on the cheap.
Yes.
So cheap that they went to Poland and had the Polish Symphony do the music because they came in the least expensive.
Wow.
Can
And I listen to that music all the time.
It's epic.
Yeah.
Like, it gives me goosebumps. When BYU played at Butler Fieldhouse in the COVID NCAA tournament,
right.
we didn't go because it was like there were all these parameters. I found a way to get a credential. I flew myself out there, and the last 30 minutes driving up to Hinkle Fieldhouse where they played the state championship game in the movie, I was just blasting the Hoosiers soundtrack.
Awesome.
It was epic.
That's great.
Are you talking about the year that Dave and I broadcast games and we had a seat 20 feet apart? and we had a glass
I didn't want you to give me COVID.
We had a glass thing in between
partition.
us. And this was after they took blood tests of us entering the arena to determine that we didn't have COVID. We still sat 20 feet apart with a piece of glass. And then we were nervous that we might be talking too loud with no fans in the arena because the coach might hear. Like, I'd make a comment, and a coach would turn around and look at me and be like, "Oh, this is so bad."
I'm sorry, Coach.
Yeah. So that was the year.
Hoosiers, number one.
Okay.
Favorite singer or band?
Oh, man, this is so tough. This is so tough because I come from such a musical family, and we just love, like, talent in general across all genres. My goodness. Whenever I hear
the first one that popped in your
whenever I hear the song "Clocks" by Coldplay, I tell my wife it's going to be a great day. Okay,
Coldplay.
That's old school Coldplay, like circa that album came out in 2002 or 2003. "Clocks" by Coldplay is like it's going to be a good day today.
Okay.
If I hear that
On
song.
my way to the studio, I was listening to Nappy Roots. Going to be a good day. Going to have a good day. All my homies going to ride today.
All right, we're writing Coldplay down.
Favorite
Yes.
breakfast cereal?
I'm going to have to go probably with Lucky Charms.
All right.
Okay,
Nothing
that's
wrong
a good
with that.
Wait,
Classic. I
Lucky
like-
Charms. Somebody last week had Lucky Charms.
I like the mix of marshmallows to, just a normal
Wait,
Cheerio
I'm
type
gonna
thing,
ask you
the
this
sweetened
because guess
Cheerios.
it was Judge Blood. To like Lucky Charms, and she did.
You interviewed Judge Blood after we interviewed
So
Judge
Judge
Blood.
Blood,
she's awesome.
Yeah.
She eats all the oats first,
And then
saves
she's
for like 3 pure marshmallow bites at the end with milk.
Seriously, is there a better name than Judge Blood?
No, that's fantastic.
So-
Secondary would be Waffle
Yeah,
Crisp.
try that. Try the marshmallow trick because I think it's
Okay,
epic.
my
So,
kids do it in reverse. They eat all the marshmallows, and then I have to fight for them to eat the
no,
rest.
save the marshmallows for last 3 huge bites of nothing but marshmallows soaked in milk.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite ice cream?
Cookies and cream.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty classic there.
Yeah.
Not like saying anything crazy.
I like cashew conquistador. How about favorite BYU memory?
Oh my gosh, is this a sports memory?
It can
or
be
like-
anything. Some people have been like, when I got my degree. Some people have been like, when I met my wife. I'm not putting any pressure on. Some people have been like, when I threw a touchdown pass to Clay Brown.
Who could that have been? Probably standing on the sideline in Rice-Eccles Stadium in 2006 in late November with 3 seconds on the clock, watching John Beck break the huddle for one final play and thinking, oh my gosh, if BYU doesn't convert from 11 yards away, they're going to lose a 5th straight game to Utah. And John's not going to have his redemption. They're not going to win the Mountain West. Like, it's been too great of a season. This can't happen. Watching Johnny Harline slide in to make that catch literally right in front of me. I just happened to be in the perfect spot where I was standing on the sideline. Was one of the greatest emotions and experiences I've ever had that relates to BYU. You know, my wife would be like, you should have said that it was when you saw me for the first time when I was the information desk girl at the Wilkinson Center. That was also
All
fantastic.
That was big.
Beck to Harline changed my life. It changed my life. Like that play, it just like we all remember where we were.
Did you have a Harleen Still Open shirt?
I saw it for the first time at the Huntsman Center a few months after when BYU finally won under Dave Rose and broke that long losing streak on the road in
Yes.
basketball. Someone showed up with the Harleen Still. It was the first one I'd ever seen, and I was like, "That's the greatest T-shirt that's ever been created."
That's a great one.
Yes, that's tough to beat.
That's great stuff. Spencer Linton with us. Do you got to leave? Are you like
I don't
wide
know if
open tonight
I don't know
or
if I
what?
can leave because I'm
You got
pretty
a
sure
tire
I've got a
problem.
flat tire out there.